Hello, Pokemon Masters, Verkipatobi here, and okay, I have done my Pokemon gym of every single type. I've talked about what if I was a trial captain. I've talked about my Elite Four, my evil team, Team Snooze, so many times. I've talked about my Battle Frontier. I've talked about what my personal, like, NPC, what my my original character in the world of Pokemon would be like. I've nearly done them all. In fact, I have just 2 left. Or, you know, maybe 3 at a push. I've always wanted to do what if I was a Pokemon professor. I've had it suggested to me, what if I was a Pokemon coordinator? And I think that could be really, really interesting. And the other one I've always wanted to do is, what if I was a rival? What if I was able to self-insert myself into the games and make myself a Pokemon rival within the world of Pokemon, specifically within Galar, because of course Galar is based off of the UK and I am English. What would that look like? Why would I want to do that? Well, because we all want to live in the world of Pokemon. What would my team be and what would it all be about? Just interestingly, I'm still a little ways away from this yet. I'm revisiting other series and doing other creative things on the channel. It's probably not even going to happen until next year, but I'm just wondering how people would feel about me revisiting all the Pokemon gyms, maybe just using the Galarian Pokedex, but like down the line, maybe next year, when, you know, like once those videos are a little bit older and I want to like just keep recycling, like every video is a my Pokemon gym, this, that, and the other, you know? But what if I was a Pokemon rival? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been thinking about where it would fit into the world of Galar, because very specifically, the Galarian rivals are really cool. Hop is, in my opinion, just a little bit better than How. He has all of the same charismatic cheeriness. There is somewhat of a plot arc in there and some character growth. Mostly I think the costume, Hop's costume, is really cool, and much like a jacket that I already own. I think Hop is awesome, and being the champion's little brother gives him some real motivation. And Bede was actually relatively challenging when I first battled Bede in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I remember just finding Bede quite frustrating to beat, although ultimately Bede's story did kind of, for me, get a little bit worse as we got further into the game. You only really interact with Bede like 3 or 4 times, and then their story is done. And then there's Marnie, and Marnie is by far the coolest rival, just by so much. The fact that the evil team follows Marnie because they think she's really, really cool as a pop star, but she doesn't like necessarily agree with it. She's a gym leader's younger sister. She's got this Morpeko that is so frustrating to deal with. So many times has it paralyzed me or flinched me in battle. So yeah, I think Marnie's really cool. And if I was a rival in Pokemon Sword and Shield, I definitely would not be taking over Marnie's slot. I would choose to replace either Hop or Bede. Of course, before I continue, I should mention that the whole point of me doing these videos is so that you'll do them as well, but like in the comments or make your own video. Get creative, let me know. What would you be like if you were a Pokemon rival in any of the games? Which rival would you replace, and how would you fit yourself into the story? How do I think about it? For me, creating an interesting rival, it's difficult. You know, I'm not conventionally a story writer, but I do believe that if you, as an opposing force, right, as a rival to the main character, to the player character, if you want to be in the story, then first and foremost, you gotta have the same goals. What are the goals of the main characters? Collect all the Pokemon, beat the championship, beat the league, beat the evil team. So there are 3 different little motivators. If my character has any 3 of these, I think that's a good basic starting place, and as you can tell, a lot of the rivals have similar themes already. Like, take Hop for example. Hop's goals are to complete the league, get stronger, and ultimately beat his big brother. Now, it's very personal for him, and that's what makes it different to your story. In fact, I've seen so many posts, and I've thought myself that really you're the rival in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Hop's journey is the main character, but that's besides the point. I figured for myself, as a Galarian, my goal in the game is to beat Leon. But then there's the question of why, because Leon is not my big brother. In fact, my character is going to come from the town of Turfield. It's very similar to the place that I actually live in the UK. It's very much, I mean, all of that early game stuff, Wedgehurst Station, Turfield, all of those towns, they are very evocative of what my home looks like. So I'm from Turfield, and Leon isn't my big brother, so why do I want to beat Leon? Well, I think it's for one reason, and the reason we should all want to fight Leon, because he's using Charizard. And this is Galar, and too many people love Charizard. And look, I like Charizard as much as the next guy, but clearly the best starter, just my personal favorite starter out of the Kanto ones at the moment, is Bulbasaur. I like the idea that I got Bulbasaur from the Kanto region, which was of course the first region that I played, and then we moved over to the Galar region, where I've lived my life since I was very, very young, and now I want to beat Leon just for all of the Bulbasaur fans out there. And the reason it's more important that I do it with Bulbasaur than, say, Squirtle is because Bulbasaur's weak to Charizard. So what I'm trying to prove is that the underdog, the underappreciated, that's the Pokemon that can win in battle. That's the kind of trainer I want to be, and that's why it's so much more important that I win the league than you as the player character. And fundamentally, tying into my own story, this might come from the fact that my character wants to also prove it to his own big brother, who is a legendary Pokemon trainer who's gone off into the world to research legendary Pokemon. This coming from the fact when I first played a Pokemon game, Pokemon Yellow, my big brother had Pokemon Silver, and I was just like, he was off in Johto battling Lugia and legendary Pokemon, and I was like, that's so cool, and obviously that's when we were kids. So I kind of want to tie that element in as well. So here I am, a young trainer from Turffield, and we are at the very beginning of the game where you, the starter character, and maybe Hop, if I haven't replaced them, are there in the kind of the town centre of, is it Wedgehurst? And Leon, the great and powerful, has appeared, and I am in the crowd. After the crowd disperses, I come up to you because Leon had a chat with you, and I was like, you know Leon? You know he's kind of a big deal, a legendary trainer. You know, if he talks to you, he must really respect you. I want to have a battle. And the Pokemon on my team, like I mentioned earlier, Bulbasaur, because I started with Kanto, and also because Bulbasaur are like the frogs that we used to have around our ponds. So, you know, it kind of ties into my life that way. And a Galarian Meowth. Listen, I've always been a cat person, and we've always had cats in our house. And while yes, I have a lovely little pup with Rolo, everyone knows that Rolo is a Lillipup, and Lillipup isn't in Galar. So instead, I've got my cat, Galarian Meowth, who's just like my cat Rug, who is possibly the best cat ever in the world. Of course, if you chose a fire starter, you're in for a very good time against me, and ultimately that's just the way it goes. These are my two starting Pokemon. These are the Pokemon that you're going to battle, and ultimately I'll, you know, when you defeat me, because you're the main character, I'll say, look, if you want a real challenge, I'll meet you in my hometown of Turffield, and there I'll battle with you in front of the whole town. So, you know, see you there. Ultimately, you will come to Turffield eventually, because that's where your Galar adventure takes you, and outside of the front of the big kind of carving on the side of the hill of the giant Toxtricity, I'll be ready for a rematch with my Bulbasaur, Galarian Meowth, and Applin. Why Applin? Well, when I was a kid, we actually had an apple tree in our garden, and the reason we cut it down is because bugs kept building their homes around it. There were a lot of wasps, but anyway, the idea of a worm and an apple, it resonates with my childhood quite a lot. It also means I can have a different evolution later on in the game, depending on whether you're playing Sword or Shield. Though, to be absolutely clear, my favourite one is Appleton. To me, the idea of battling in Turffield also really works, because the first time you battle Beed is in the Galar Mines, and if I am replacing Beed here, then it just kind of, you know, they're really close to each other, Turffield and the Galar Mines. When you beat me, I'll talk about how I've always been interested in the giant carving on the hill, and legendary Pokemon, and mysterious ancient stuff. It's always interested me, and maybe one day I'll be strong enough like my big brother and I'll go and research legendary Pokemon. Anyway, that Pokemon on the hill, the Toxtricity, I can learn more about it if I go to another town, so I'll see you a little bit later on. And sure enough, I will in the town of Hilbury, where you'll find me by the Toxtricity statues there, just trying to learn more about ancient Pokemon and when these statues were built. And I'll tell you that I don't think I found a legendary Pokemon. What a shame. But I will find a legendary Pokemon one day, and I will work to become a legendary Pokemon trainer. And there, in Hilbury, I'll battle you again, this time with Galarian Meowth, an Ivysaur now, evolved my Bulbasaur of course, my Applin, which is still unevolved, and a Barboach. And why a Barboach? One, it's for the type coverage aspect, and two, because again, it's a tie to my big brother, who, for those of you who don't know, my big brother loves fishing. He's actually got a whole Instagram, and if you like fishing, you should go check out his Instagram. I'll leave that link below. Little shout out to my bro. Again, I really wanted to make my Pokemon rival the me in the game. I really wanted to make it personal to me. From there, however, the next big rival battle that I can really think of, again, if you're talking about Beed, if we've had one in Turffield and one in Hilbury, that kind of matches the two Galar Mines. The next time you would see Beed would be right before going to Glimwood Tangle, which is where I will be waiting again in Glimwood Tangle, blocking your path, saying, I heard about the legendary Pokemon statues that have just been discovered. And by the way, you might think, hang on, if we're getting rid of Beed, then how's the statue appearing? Look, I'm gonna be honest, as cool as Beed is, Beed does not provide a lot to the story. Chairman Rose could just have anyone excavating that site. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Bede. Anyway, whatever. New legendary Pokemon statue's been found. I'm coming down from Bellinona town, if I'm saying that right, through Glimwood Tangle to check it out, and of course I encounter you in Glimwood Tangle, so we're gonna have another battle. And my team's got even bigger. We've got a Meowth like before, we've got an Ivysaur, now Applin has evolved into one of its 2 evolutions. We have a Wishcash instead of a Barboach, and of course a Poltergeist, because I like tea. And it's Glimwood Tangle, so it kind of works. And you might be wondering, why am I not evolving the Galarian Meowth? And to me, the idea of having a Meowth kind of makes me adversarial on a subconscious level, because Meowth is famously known as being kind of an enemy to the heroes of Pokemon. So for me, that just kind of made sense. Ultimately, you'll defeat my character, and you won't see my character again until really the walk up the icy hills to Wyndon, or its real world equivalent, London, which is where I spent a lot of my early, I guess, 20s. I'm still in my early 20s, but I spent my earliest early 20s studying in London, learning things, learning about the world, starting up this YouTube channel. And I'll encounter you, but I won't battle you. I'll tell you that I actually came here to study, and I've decided that beating Leon doesn't really matter to me. If you beat Leon though, I will be interested in battling you, and I'll battle you back in my hometown of Turfield. If once you've completed the Pokemon League, you want to come and find me, I think I've learned a lot about where we might be able to find some legendary Pokemon. So once you're the champion, come and prove yourself to me. And this way, I don't really interfere with the story. And once you've beaten the Pokemon League, which no longer has Bede in it, because why would it? Let's get rid of Bede. Bye, Bede. You come back to Turfield, and you come back to the big glyph in the side of the hill, and there I am, ready to battle you with my completed team. Galarian Meowth has now finally evolved into Berserker. My Ivysaur is now a Venusaur, which can Gigantamax into the new Gigantamax Venusaur, of course. My Applin is fully evolved into one of its 2 forms. We have Wishcash, we have Poltergeist, and we now have Stonjourner, which of course is based off of Stonehenge. It's part of the ancient, Pokemon world. And Stonehenge, again, it's not too far from my home. It's very reminiscent of the kind of place that I live. And once you defeat me in that, then I say, okay, look, I've heard from my brother character. I might not be able to beat you, but that's fine. You are a champion. I've already, in my mind, through Gigantamaxing, proved that my Bulbasaur is good enough. And I can now finally begin my hunt for legendary Pokemon. Have you ever heard of the Crown Tundra? And it will be my character that ultimately escorts you and transitions you from the main game to the Crown Tundra DLC. Now, we don't know that much about the Crown Tundra DLC yet. I imagine my character will be very interested in the underground raid dens with legendary Pokemon and the Reggies. But very specifically, I think there will be a quest involving the Galarian legendary birds. Because after all, my character is ultimately destined to become a bird keeper. And that, maybe I'll expand when the Crown Tundra is out, but that is how I would place myself as a rival in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I don't know, maybe I kind of missed the mark a little bit with the Leon thing, and then kind of like, I've got to be better than Leon with his Charizard. Maybe I would get an opportunity to have that battle. Maybe I would appear in the Pokemon League instead of Bede. Actually, yeah, maybe that makes more sense. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. That's what I've been thinking about, how I would put myself as a rival within the world of Pokemon Sword and Shield. And what about you? I would love to hear how you would put yourself, take your personal experiences. That's what I really want to focus with in this video. Make yourself into a character using the Pokemon of the Galadex that match you the best. How would you put yourself into that world, into that story? I would love to hear from you in the comments, of course. Thank you for watching this video. You are all absolutely lovely. Thank you to those of you who, of course, who are also supporting me on Patreon. You are absolute heroes. And of course, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.
And a massive thank you to those of you supporting me on Patreon right now, including the big patron of this month, Gunnar Clovis. Thank you, heroes.